The subway is a magical underground world where anything goes, and no journey is ever the same. Even if you're a veteran of public transport, it's likely you've never seen the following things people have spotted on the subway. It turns out Bigfoot is real after all, and he rides the subway just like everybody else. I wonder where this giant yeti was headed, because the pensive gaze on his face makes it seem like he's really going through it inside. It'll be okay, big guy. I wonder if this woman is aware of the turmoil going on in her kneecaps. Luckily, one horrified passenger couldn't resist snapping a photo of this paranormal sight. I don't know how those innocent babies ended up in there, but they definitely want out now. It's remarkable how many people seem to forget that although the subway is underground, it's definitely still a public place. This guy clearly left his dignity at the door as he decided to board the train and do, well, whatever this is. I'd like to think he's headed home to change after putting his daughter's top on by accident, but somehow I don't think so. Flirting on public transport isn't really ideal, but this guy went a step further than a few cheeky glances with his attempt to woo the woman next to him. Why ask her on a date when the date can happen right then and there? In no time, he's set up a dinner table with roses and a bottle of wine, but she doesn't look too impressed. There's nothing worse than leaving the house and realizing you've forgotten your headphones, but thankfully this man had a stethoscope on him, which works just fine. With the crisis averted, he can now listen in peace. Dr. Dre would be proud. Most of us breathe a sigh of relief when a train arrives with an empty carriage, but step onto this train too hastily and you'll be faced with some unwelcome guests. These crabs clearly had somewhere important to get to, and at least they've left seats free. There's nothing to see here, people. Just an ordinary woman taking her bananas out for the day. After all, there's no law against pet fruit riding the subway, and at least they're on a leash, too. Imagine hopping on the late train and seeing this thing staring back at you. Glowing red eyes and grotesque long fingers are hard to ignore. But hey, if the Dark Lord has paid the fare, he's allowed to ride like the rest of us. I bet he's following the root of all evil. Unless you've been living under a rock since 2016, you'll be aware of the pop culture revival of Stephen King's It. This knitting Pennywise the Clown definitely isn't someone you want to run into underground. No bride imagines their wedding day is going to end up quite like this. This tragic photograph snapped on the London Underground went viral in 2012 until the woman herself put rumors to rest by explaining that she had been given tickets to a football match after her wedding that morning on the condition that she didn't change beforehand. The sad photo was actually a result of too much champagne. Are you even a goth if you don't ride the subway with your pet raven? This girl is clearly contemplating the sorry state of the world on her way back from a satanic ritual. Or maybe she just went grocery shopping. This image is a true tragedy, and I'm not sure that pizza would be as fresh as the box states after slipping out onto the filthy train floor. I wonder what happened when this woman woke up. And this illustration even imagines a happy ending where she befriended Raven Girl. You never know. Subway Bride, Raven Goth, and Fresh Pizza Lady could be the next Destiny's Child. There isn't always an explanation for some of the weird things people spot on the subway. Just take this woman sporting a delightful lettuce hat, for example. American baseball player Babe Ruth used to wear a fresh cabbage leaf under his cap to keep cool during innings. But maybe this is just a next-level fashion choice. People sport some pretty out-there outfits on public transportation, but nobody can one-up this incredible look. This otherworldly creature is actually a New York City designer and performer known as Muffinhead, who can be seen wearing the same outfit here. You know, just something casual to pick up some milk. Judging by this photo, it seems like the subway can also double up as a time machine, as it looks like Einstein himself is hopping aboard. After taking one look at his surroundings though, I'm sure he beamed himself straight back to the 1900s. Sometimes there's no other option than to take the subway to get where you want to go, even if that destination is a Simpsons-themed costume party. Check out this humanoid Marge Simpson riding with the rest of us. This would be a pretty charming costume if it weren't for that terrifying grin. Eating on public transport is messy and annoying, and the last meal you'd want to chow down on while moving at high speeds is a bowl of spaghetti, right? That didn't stop this guy from disturbing passengers by slurping spaghetti through a giant papier-mâché head, though. I have so many questions. Any true Harry Potter fan might recognize this guy as the lovable wizard Dumbledore. But the fun doesn't stop there. Over the years, lookalikes of the whole cast have been spotted riding the subway. Here's Snape, Hagrid, Professor McGonagall, and even Harry himself. Maybe Platform 9 3/4 does exist after all. For anyone with a fear of clowns, this subway train would be a total nightmare. Either every Ronald McDonald in the country got suddenly laid off, or there's been some glitch in the Matrix. But this is one weird coincidence. The person behind this bizarre suit definitely puts the trip in subway trip. It's surprising to see the other passengers acting like this is a normal occurrence, but maybe they're just hypnotized by the bright lights. I'm not sure what they're going for, but it totally seems like an Error 404 human not found scenario. Here's one way to guarantee yourself a seat on the train during rush hour. The only logical explanation here is that this man bought this giant rocking chair earlier in the day and may as well sit in it on the way home. Unless, of course, he brings it with him every day. Traveling underground can be stuffy and uncomfortable at the best of times, but I can only imagine the struggle of doing it in a full suit of armor. Sure, these guys could be on their way back from a medieval live-action roleplay event, but a change of clothes could have saved some strange looks. It's not uncommon to see someone's canine companion hitching a ride on the subway, but I'd love to know the story behind this image. Judging by this man's clothes, it must be bring your pet to work day, unless he's the one on the leash and the witchy hedgehog is in control. Speaking of strange pets, have you ever heard of a pet fox? Or better yet, seen one happily riding the subway? Maybe this fox suffers from serious separation anxiety and travels with its owner every day, which would definitely explain why the lady is so over it. No fucks given. This guy is a real enigma. What is up with the zebra twist on the classic mythical centaur? And what event could possibly require such a bizarre costume? The biggest question of all, though, is how is he gonna fit through those gates? I bet this poor fella wasn't expecting to board the train after a long day and be followed by a horde of 17th century bubonic plague doctors. From the looks of it, they aren't the best companions for a bit of commuter banter either. Sometimes people taking the subway don't seem particularly unusual until they do something like this. Yes, this lady really did attempt to swipe a note through the card reader, and the most baffling thing is how genuinely shocked she looked when it didn't work. At first glance, this image is the result of a tragic case of forgetfulness. But how could anyone forget their own prosthetic leg, let alone manage to walk away without it? It seems this is a classic mystery lost in the subway. This is definitely not something you'd expect to see on your daily commute. These horrifying baby masks make this group of partygoers look like genuinely oversized babies, and their squealing faces really are the stuff of nightmares. Perhaps adult supervision should be advised from now on. The level of calm displayed by the other passengers in this photo just goes to show how often weird and wonderful things happen on public transport. A peacock has to be one of the last animals you'd expect to encounter on the subway, and there's a fair chance this one has been taxidermied, or it's one well-behaved bird. That peacock isn't the only bird to ditch flight in favor of high-speed underground travel. Just check out this smart pigeon who's figured out how to use the tube to get around London a little easier. I wonder where he keeps his Oyster card. This guy took the office Christmas costume contest to the next level by turning up as the tree itself, complete with lights and tree trunk pants. I'm not sure he fully thought through the logistics of commuting in a 9-foot costume you can't see out of, though. There's not much I can say about this old lady and her denture Olympics, except how and why. There's probably a place for this niche talent somewhere, but the subway might not be it. The subway isn't always the most reliable method of transport if you need to get somewhere in a hurry, and sometimes compromises must be made. This woman was clearly hosting an important dinner party, and when time gets tight and there's onions that need chopping, there's only one thing to do. Spotting a celebrity out and about IRL is an exciting prospect, and there's no doubt most of them have used the subway at some point. But one passenger got more than they bargained for when they spotted this woman. If that coy smile doesn't ring any bells, maybe this will. She's even got the hands down. If a photograph says 1,000 words, I'd love to hear the story behind this one. There's something about the contrast between this man's giant fox cosplay and his ordinary clothing and shopping bags which make this deeply unsettling, and I'm happy not knowing what he looked like head on. People run the London Marathon in all sorts of crazy outfits, and these rhino conservationists do look pretty impressive. But the journey home seems far from ideal. Imagine how hot it is in there. He's just lucky it wasn't rush hour. It seems like seeing people dressed as animals on the subway isn't so out of the ordinary, but that doesn't make outfits like this any less baffling. One horse human is enough, but 3 is most definitely a crowd. I shudder to think where these guys were headed. This guy has some serious balls to be so casually commuting with his inflatable friend. Did it never cross his mind that she could be deflated to make the whole thing a little more discreet? He even has a sizable enough bag right there. The last thing you want to encounter at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning is this dude banging on a bongo and blowing into a homemade didgeridoo made from plastic piping. I wonder how long it took for someone to break that thing in two. There may be regulations in place about taking dogs on the subway, but wild birds seems to be a gray area. Here's a guy casually sitting with a terrifying eagle on his lap. And what about this old lady reading a book with her equally wise travel companion? Sometimes people love their pets a little too much, and public displays of affection aren't always adorable. It seems like bath time couldn't wait for this lucky rat whose owner had no shame in licking the rodent clean. At least they both seem to be enjoying it, I guess. The subway is not the roomiest form of public transport, and some people have found ways to keep sweaty commuters at a distance by creating their own personal space bubbles, like this one. Subtlety clearly has no part to play in the design of these devices, though. Something definitely went very wrong here. I'm not sure what this girl was practicing for, or why she was doing it on the subway, not to mention the supersized drink in her hand. Overall, this photo is truly a mystery. But what I do know is that guy got a very rude awakening. What's the weirdest thing you've ever spotted on the subway? Let me know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.